You've been checking out everything at mandatory minicamp, and you had a big takeaway. And I want to ask you guys to start off 216-474 to below 92, as Daryl's takeaway involves basically this is being an awesome rookie class. How will this rookie class change the perception of Andrew Berry's drafting ability? Now, Daryl, you're not saying that anyone out of this class is already proven. You're not saying anyone of this class has done anything at all. I don't want anyone to get that misconstrued.
I'm not fitting anyone for gold jackets just yet.
No, they're still doing, what did Deuce Staley call it, football in their pajamas or something like that?
Pretty much, yeah.
But you are really impressed.
By the way, great line.
Awesome.
Great line.
You're really impressed with what you've seen so far out of the rookies as a whole.
I like this rookie class. I am a big fan of Fannin from Bowling Green, the tight end.
Yeah.
I really love what I see from him. It's
he's just always open, it sounds like.
Yeah, and he catches everything.
From what people describe to me, the man just always finds a way to be open.
I'm trying not to get too excited about Quinshon Judkins, but I'm really getting excited about Quinshon Judkins.
Okay, good.
And Sampson's, looks pretty good as well.
So we interviewed Sampson yesterday. He came on the show, and I was blown away at the humility that he had and just how humble he was, to the point where I started having to gas him up a little bit. Like, that was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. And asking him about that game, Ohio State versus Tennessee. Now, yes, he was not a factor in that game, even though he was highlighted to be a factor in that game. Yeah. He acted as if he sat on the sidelines and didn't even get a carry in that one. Now, he referenced the injury he had and what happened in that game against Vanderbilt and everything associated with it. But like the man, he was like, oh, yeah, didn't really even start until the last year I had there. Go back and look at his numbers. He broke the Tennessee Vols all-time rushing record by the time he got to his senior year. And the way he acted as if he was third string on the depth chart there on that team. Like, unreal.
Yeah.
The humility that he had.
Yeah, real humble kid. So I like him. Mason Graham, it's hard to judge him right now, but I just have high hopes for him. I loved him coming into the draft. And so I've got high expectations for him.
I can't wait to see him play, because the way he looks doesn't seem very intimidating. He doesn't seem like he's supposed to be this game record. If you just took him at face value being around him, and then you watch him actually play, it's
put
a different
pads
story.
on him and your
just a completely different story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm real high on him. And then hey, we'll see what ultimately happens with one of these two rookie quarterbacks. But they could be the icing on the cake. But I just feel like this particular rookie class, Jonathan, when I look at it, it has the opportunity, and part of it was circumstances, right? They didn't have a lot of draft picks in recent years because the Deshaun trade and whatnot.
Right.
Roster, the phase of the roster building they were in and whatnot. But I really feel like this has the opportunity to be as impactful for the Browns as we saw the 2017 and 2018 drafts be for the Browns.
Oh, wow. So you're talking Myles Garrett into Baker Mayfield, into Nick Chubb. I mean, just think about Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward. That draft alone
100%.
is enough to be like, oh my gosh, you've done it. You made it. Like, I don't know about you. Looking at drafts, obviously you need to hit higher on the, the value picks and everything like that. But what it really comes down to for me, did you get your first round right? Did you get your second round? I don't need 100% hit rate. And I do think a lot of people with Andrew Berry, the way Andrew Berry's dug himself into a hole in a lot of these draft conversations, one Pro Bowler the entire time he's been drafting here, and that Pro Bowler right now isn't even playing in JOK. That's really tough. If you're going to beat those charges that you know how to draft, that's really tough. But I do tend to give him a little bit of slack, and for what you described. When you traded for Deshaun Watson, you gave away 6 picks in total, 3 first-rounders. You gave away the farm in really trying to make sure you got the quarterback spot right. And so you did what you had to do. But ultimately, he has not been given the same shake that everyone else has. I understand why fans are frustrated, though. But this feels like the first time in a while where you're like, okay, he's had a full bevy of war room chest to go ahead and choose from and opportunities to go ahead and get this thing right.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 3 first-round picks in 6 years. Of drafting, right?
Yeah.
Now, first 2, well, I'm going to say Greg Newsome is a hit, okay? Because I feel like Newsome is a hit, even if he doesn't ultimately get his second contract here. He's been
because we usually judge it Pro Bowl or second contract. It doesn't seem like Newsome's going to have either.
Right. But I'm going to get. We don't know how this is going to play out. So for now, I'm going to give him credit for that. But obviously, the Jed Wills thing that stinks, right? That was his first pick, and Jed's obviously going to take the year off because, he needs to get healthy. But
more like no one wanted him. Am I right?
Well, I was trying to be nicer than you were.
I don't have to be. It's okay. Although you don't really have to be either at this point with Jed Wills. It's okay. Yeah. He's not walking through those doors again. I promise you that.
Right. But I feel like that this is a true opportunity to grade Andrew Berry as well with this class, right? Because are we really going to grade him because he missed on third round wide receivers or fourth round or fifth and sixth round guys? Like, are we really going to?
For the longest time, that was kind of what it was. It was the 3 straight third round wide receivers. And we're like, all right. Well, and then we had to wonder, is it a drafting problem? Is it a developmental problem? Was the other side of that, which one are we actually supposed to put the blame on if he's taking all these third round wide receivers and none of them are working out? I think there's 2 things that were kind of going against Andrew Berry. One of them I think is really unfair, but I think it's just the reality of the NFL. Following up John Dorsey, I think, is an incredibly tough, tall task. Like you mentioned 2017 and 2018, and not only the picks there, but if we talk about just football in the previous decade, I don't think there's anybody for my money that did a better job of drafting. Let's go a little bit further in the decade. Let's say last 15 years than John Dorsey has done in the NFL. Think about it. He hit on Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. That's a different team, but he hit on all those players that completely changed the Kansas City Chiefs franchise, won them Super Bowls, everything else associated with that. And then here, it's Baker Mayfield, it's Denzel Ward, it's Nick Chubb, it's Myles Garrett, it's all those other picks. Like if you put the collection of talent together, I don't think anybody's done a better job than John Dorsey in the previous 10, 15 years of drafting guys. There's a lot of people he'd be going up against, but you can put his resume and the people that have drafted right there at the very top. So I think that's very, very tough. And I think that's something that Andrew Berry's had to try to work to overcome.
Yeah. And now he's had the assets to do that. I mean, you got to have the picks available to you. Yeah. So I think this is this has the potential when you're talking about impact game to game. I think this rookie class, not only are they going to be counted on to provide that impact, but I think that they're going to live up to.
Well, and unlike other classes, they'll also have a chance to do it earlier than most rookies would have an opportunity to do so. I mean, think about it. Those 2 running backs, they're going to be relied on heavily this year, I would imagine.
Well, Deuce Staley just said yesterday, hey, feel like those guys can bring back that dominant Browns run game that they used to have with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where it was that 1-2 punch. And you would, they used to alternate drives. It would be the Nick Chubb drive for like 2 series. Mm-hmm. Okay, defense is worn down. Now it's Kareem Hunt's turn to go in there and have a little fun for a couple of drives. And then, okay, let's go back to Nick Chubb after that. And they just were able to bludgeon teams on the ground. And I think the hope is between Junkins and Sampson, and let's throw Jerome Ford in the mix there.
I love Jerome Ford. I'm a big Jerome Ford guy.
Yeah, you throw him in the mix too. Let's not forget he's there too. So I think there's an opportunity, and quite frankly, they probably should rely on the run game this year than being the typical pass-happy offense they've tried to be the last couple of years.
As a whole, though, with this rookie class, Mason Graham is going to be starting on this team. Judkins will be starting on this team. Really, everyone up until the Dylan Gabriel pick. Schlesinger is going to be starting. Harold Fannin will be splitting time with Njoku, but he's going to have starter-like opportunities at tight end. Like everyone they chose up until Dylan Gabriel is going to be asked to have an actual meaningful impact on this team. Whether that's offensive side or defensive side of the ball, I think it's a big deal. 216-474 to below 92. Now, will Andrew Berry be the guy when all of a sudden everything does materialize? We're like, wow, you really did hit on that one. Time will tell, but will this rookie class change the perception of Andrew Berry's drafting ability? Daryl just had me. He had me hook, line, and sinker with his expectations for this rookie class and how much.
Too much?
No, well, I mean, it is a lot. And not that I'm here for it, okay? Listen, I'm here for it mainly because I think Shedeur is going to end up being something in the NFL. And
you
I think
are the Shishil.
Thank you very much. I've understood I can't. If there was any thought that I would have that Nick would come back on Monday and everyone that I hosted with, he'd have a conversation with, and they'd sit there and he'd be like, so did Jonathan just wax poetic about Shedeur all day long? And they'd be like, no, where'd you even get that from? Not at all. Any dream I had of that happening flew out the window. But I knew it was never going to happen with you anyway. So we might as well just completely swerve into what we are, which is
look, if Shedeur does work out, and I'm not discounting it, the possibility is there, obviously. If he works out, and these other 4 or 5 rookies do what I think they're going to do, Andrew Berry is going to be in the Browns Hall of Fame for drafting.
Wow. I mean, you said last segment that the quarterbacks are basically looked at as, what would you call them, the cherry on top of the sundae or something, something in that effect?
Well, one's drafted in the third round.
If you believe that highly in the rookie players outside of Shador, if Shador turns into being a good NFL quarterback, I'm not even saying great, just a good NFL quarterback, and then any combination of Mason Graham, Judkins, Schlesinger, Harold Fannin, who you absolutely love, any combination of these guys, then you got hits left and right on top of taking care of the quarterback situation. Like, this could be a defining draft class for Andrew Berry when it's all said and done. Also with the understanding that if he doesn't get the quarterback situation right, we could be having the same conversation about who he ends up taking next year as well.
Right, absolutely. So if these guys do what I expect them to do, then I feel like people are going to be just fine with Andrew Berry having 2 first-round picks next year. We're not going to have.
We had so many discussions about it. Like, do you even trust the guy making the picks? All those type of things, and the early returns. And yes, it's incredibly early, but the early returns out of somebody that's been there every single day, and Daryl Ryder, is that you feel pretty good about this class so far.
I do. I loved what I have seen to this point. Not only the offseason program, rookie minicamp to OTAs through the veteran mandatory minicamp here. And so I am going to set the bar in the expectations. First of all, they do have holes, right? These guys, it's not only about Jonathan, them getting opportunities. They almost have to get these opportunities. They need, you need Graham in the middle of that defensive line. That was a hole they needed to fill. Okay. Outside of David Njoku. Okay, well, Fannin, there you go. You didn't bring back Nick Chubb. Got a hole in the running back room. They drafted not 1 but 2 guys there. These guys are actually filling holes on the roster. JOK is not available. Schlesinger, they draft him. So, these kids are getting opportunities for, I think, two reasons. One, they're good, but also 2, there are legitimate holes on the roster that they are filling.
Yeah.
Or need. Maybe holes is the wrong word to use. Needs. So opportunities, however you want to describe it. And my expectation is that these kids are going to step in and they're going to do a really good job.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I love I like the idea of a lot of these different picks. Now, I think there's obviously going to be something that ends up happening that's not perfect, right?
Somebody's going to miss on one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll look back 4 years from now and be like, geez, he took Schlesinger when Luther Burden was right there. We needed a wide receiver. Luther Burden and Caleb Williams have turned into one of the best wide receiver duos in the entire NFL. The hell was Andrew Berry thinking? But as long as he's hitting at a higher rate than most, and at least having a full deck opportunity chance to do so, that's what he was afforded this year. I'm excited to see it. Now, the only problem here is if they lose a lot, we might end up really liking these guys, and it'd be a little bit too late almost to turn around and be like, boy, that was a really good job that Andrew Berry did there, as new GM has already taken over and off to the races.
I'll tell you this, from my perspective, I think the only way Andrew Berry is not the GM next year is in 2 scenarios. One, this season just goes horrifically off the rails, and the rookies that I am right now glowing over don't perform, okay? Or 2, the internal conflict stuff gets fired up again. Because when you look, and I've said this, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but it is true. For as much as the Haslams were criticized for the regularity with which they would change out the building, front office, head coach, right? One of the impetuses behind that and what would lead to those things is the GM and the head coach fighting behind the scenes, and each one racing the offices to throw the other one under the bus. Okay. Well, you have 2 grown adults in Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski who not only conduct themselves as adults, right?
Yeah.
And
I call them Bert and Ernie for a reason. They're connected together. They seem like 2 best buds. It doesn't ever seem like the conflict just doesn't arise between the 2 of them. And I guess we don't really know.
Whatever conflict that they have, they keep between
themselves. You never find out. That's what I was gonna say. Obviously we're not in the office buildings 24/7. So maybe there are things happening behind closed doors, but if they are, we don't find out about them. But even just knowing the 2 of them for as long as we've known them, and Daryl, you've been around them a lot. I've been around them a lot as well, and I've had conversations with both of them. They just don't give off the, you can tell a vibe with somebody that is like, I'm gonna tell the boss what's going on. Like I'm gonna be the snitch of the place, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm first to tell this person reason X, Y, or Z, and then you also know the other guys,
right?
And this is what I think. I think most people like to believe that they are. I guess we never truly know.
Yeah,
but most people like to believe they're the guy that's like, it'll work out itself in the long term. I just got to put my head down and do my work. And if I have a conflict, I'll take it up with that person personally, and that's all that is.
Which, by the way, that's the grown-up way to handle your business.
And yes, for sure. And it feels like Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are those guys. So I'm not as concerned about that side of things. Now, you're right in pointing out, though, in meltdowns and when people fear for their jobs, people do things you wouldn't normally expect.
But if you look at the way this offseason has been approached, just collectively, Jonathan, do you get the impression that either one of these guys is looking over their shoulder, worried about their jobs?
Not at all. And that's why I'm dying to find out who exactly Kevin Stefanski tabs as the quarterback to start week one and the approach in that scenario. And we can get into that and we can lay that all out and further down the road. Maybe even today we can go down that road. I think there'll be little signs that tell you whether or not they think they are concerned about their job or whether or not they're trusting Haslam when he says they got a long runway. I wouldn't trust Haslam as far as I can throw.
You're going to know if they're worried about jobs.
All right, go ahead.
It's during the season.
Okay.
Let's say they don't get off. Let's say they get off to the start that you, me, and everyone else believes they're going to get off to, right? It's going to be a tough start. Schedule's pretty difficult.
Frank Schwab 2 days ago on this station said it's the hardest opening 6-game schedule he's seen in 20 years of covering the NFL at Yahoo.
Fine. Okay. I'm not going to argue with him. It is a gauntlet right out of the gate.
Yeah, you're not going to be favored in any one of those games, and you'll have the worst quarterback in every one of those matchups.
And oh, by the way, they also have to go across the pond and play the Vikings again in London as part of this.
Good
too,
point.
Right?
And that'll actually be the best quarterback opportunity you have in a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
But even still, yeah.
So if there is dramatic changes made, right? In other words, if they don't stay the course, because that's, to their credit, both Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are process-driven people who stay the course.
Right.
So long as the process is meeting the standards that they set for the process.
Yeah, they're hinky. Process over results, guys.
Right. Okay. If things get a little scattered there when it comes to quarterbacks and making changes, and I'm going to talk about you're making changes because the guy got hurt. Okay. I'm talking about, well, we're going to bench him to try the next guy, and then we're going to bench him to try the next guy, right? If it gets into that, then I might say, okay, maybe some folks are concerned about job security right now. But if they really stick to their processes, especially if they go young with Kenny Pickett, right? Because there's an argument to be made. What do the Browns actually gain other than just selling to their fans, hey, look at us, we're trying to win? Organizationally, from an evaluation standpoint, when you have 3 guys in that quarterback room that are young,
right?
What do you gain by playing Joe Flacco right out of the gate? What do you learn about Kenny Pickett? What do you learn about Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel? Nothing, right? So for me, the only way you learn about those guys is by putting them on the field, right? That's one take. The other one, obviously, you play Joe because you're trying to win right out of the gate and get off to a good start and whatever. And then if you got to make changes, you got to make changes. And then the other thought is, okay, we'll pick one of the 2 kids, start them right out of the gate. And because, if they can't beat out Kenny Pickett, then maybe you shouldn't have picked them in the first place. They shouldn't be here, right? So you drafted them. You should believe in them. Put them out there and just let them learn on the job.
Did he say should believe in him? Did he say that? I think you did. Was that subconscious or was that?
I heard it too.
You heard it too, right? We got a Shaconvert on our hands. Okay.
I don't know if you have a Shaconvert, but
Was that intentional?
I have a should drop now.
Was that intentional? Was that intentional?
Might have been a Freudian slip.
I think it was. Not to derail the thought, but I think it was.
I'm spending all this time with the Shishil this week, so it does rub off a little bit.
You spend a couple days with me.
Hey, you know what? He ran one heck of a 2-minute drill to end minicamp yesterday. It looked good.
Don't I know it, Daryl? Don't I know it? 216-474-1192. Daryl's really optimistic about this rookie class, and I love hearing it.
Am I too optimistic, though?
No, not at all. It's just, obviously they have to. It's very early, and they have to do it. but this is exactly, I mean, this is music to Andrew Berry's ears. He needed something like this. We went from laser eyes to all those stupid laser eye memes just disappearing like a thief in the night, just gone.
No, but what if
because
the meaning of those memes
stopped,
changes?
Everyone stopped believing in him, and he needs something like this. He needs this rookie class that you talked about in the first segment to mirror one of the 2017 or 2018 classes,
We're
the John Dorsey
back the
classes.
laser eye memes this year.
If they start playing great, if Schlesinger is one of the best defensive rookies, if Graham is one of the best defensive rookies, if Judkins has a 1,000-yard season and just goes off to the races, if Fannin is as open as everyone that goes to these practices tell me that he constantly is, then yes, we'll probably end up bringing these things back. But right now, the laser memes are on ice. And they have been for a little bit. And these are the charges that Andrew Berry has to now beat. Like, this is what he's up against. Your fan base, his fan base, doesn't think he knows what he's doing here. That's why I think it's so refreshing and so nice when you say these positive things about the rookies, because, oh boy, does Andrew Berry need it. We need to start to have faith that this guy can know what he's doing. And yes, he had a lot of the cards were stacked against him because of the Deshaun deal, and it was hampered as far as the amount of draft capital that he had. But the capital he's been able to use in the previous now 5 going on 6 years that we've seen him do this is not hit nearly as often as he should.
No, but again, those are 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. So I don't have a high expectation that you're going to hit a whole lot. That's not to say you can't find talent in those rounds, because there are a lot of teams, about 31 of them in the National Football League, that do. But I think that this draft class can resurrect Andrew Berry's reputation.